Orita-Obele-Okeodo Road was yet to return, despite the directive and reported so.
To this place, it's not been coming forth, and the dust is really something else that has been affecting us. You can see our business is here. You know, there are a lot of things we need to achieve that we could not achieve.
As this is last year, they have done the road.
Now, the contractor is back on the road and works are ongoing. As at the time of filing this report, priming of the road was underway. Site engineer Olawole Ogunbadejo said the work has reached 80% completion. Residents and commuters at Orita-Obele-Okeodo axis can now heave a sigh of relief as the contractor has assured.
After the priming, by Monday we lay the asphalt. So after that we are continuing, so we want to deliver.
The story was not the same at Alibaka Extension Phase 3, whose residents are counting their losses, as the contractor handling the project seems to have left them to their fate.
When the new governor came, he instructed that contractors should go back to site. But unfortunately, our own contractor has not returned to site. And with only one rain, this rain has become unusable, waterlogged, so much that now we can't even come.
They appealed for government intervention.
They started very well. We thank them, and we are very grateful. But now, as it is now, we are not happy as it is.
But this our road is terrible. In fact, we have not been able to. Since the rain started, we have not been able to pass this road. We will park our cars and go and be taking Okada.
Of Orita-Obele Estate, Alagbado, Olokwe, and Ishinigbo also appealed to government to come to their aid over the bad state of road in the areas.
Orita-Obele our US
to shelve its proposed protest over the rising cost of living. The two-day protest is billed for tomorrow and Wednesday. Pan-Yoruba Social-Political Organization, Afenifere, Lagos People's Assembly, LPA, and Arewa Tank cautioned against blackmailing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Labour President, Abdullahi Meiwada, said the NCS had increased its presence across the borders, including the illegal routes. The developments, he emphasized, as part of decisive measures to stem the food crisis in the country. Amid the falling value of the naira, traders who deal in grains have been, but these have driven up the prices of food in Nigeria, resulting in protests by citizens and attacks on food trucks by desperate citizens in some states. The Defense Headquarters has refuted claims that the Guard Brigade had been placed on high alert due to suspicious movements, raising concerns of a coup plot in Nigeria. Scores of bandits have been killed as a result of a heavy fight between two rival groups in Safe local government area of. It was gathered that the two bandit groups engaged in a supremacy fight with scores lost their lives. The villagers reportedly found several dead bodies at the scene of the fight and have started considering a mass burial for the dead bandits. There are plans to dig a big grave and bury the dead bodies before they decompose. According to reports, a group of bandits from neighboring Katsina State invaded some communities in Zamfara State with the intention of kidnapping the residents. But a notorious bandits kingpin, Ado Alera, who is an indigent of the area, intervened and refused to allow the rival bandit group to. In the midst of Israeli shelling, a teacher in Dar al-Bala is bringing hope of the ongoing conflict. Despite the challenges, this teacher's dedication to her students is inspiring a generation to believe in a brighter future. Kemisola Johnny has details.
In a tent in the city of Al-Bala, a makeshift classroom is providing a safe space for young minds. These kids, like many of their age, have ambitions of becoming doctors, artists, and athletes. What's on their mind is survival. Muhammad Al-Qadari
are afraid. They're confused and terrified, and they wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of the Israeli shelling. However, the one thing that gave me a positive impression is that I managed to soothe these students as much as possible by means of emotional release, poetry and prose. I also managed to convince them to discuss how they're feeling. They're very creative, very special, and they're shining.
Despite destruction and death permeating throughout Gaza, Hamad's classes are providing kids a moment to step out of that darkness and think about a future after war.
I was living in Beit Hanun, and once the war started, we sought shelter at schools in Deir al-Balah. I was happy with this initiative, and I would like to thank the teacher for helping launch it and for helping us study after all of our schools were bombed. It's a good thing that he gave us a chance to study so that we can remember all the things we've learned to become doctors and engineers.
Everybody is happy because we are learning and living the same life we had before, when about Arabic, mathematics, English, sociology, sciences, and so on.
Around 625,000 children have been out of school since November 6. That was when the Ministry of Education suspended the school year due to war. The UN estimates around 700 schools existed in Gaza, but after October 6th, 346 schools were destroyed or damaged. Another 133 schools are being used as shelter for displaced Palestinians. Muhammad's classroom is without chalkboard, desks, and chairs, but these children are not letting circumstances define their limits. They continue to dream big for their families, those that they have lost, and a land they hold close to their hearts. Sheung Adetola, Osrc News.
It is the final day of public hearings at the International Court of Justice, which is examining the legality of Israel's decade-long occupation of Palestinian lands. 51 countries and 3 international organizations have presented their arguments. Most called for Israel's occupation to be declared illegal. Philippine protesters are taking to the streets to the dictator to change the constitution, fearing it will pave the way for him to gain a monopoly on power. Marcos Jr.'s proposed changes include the removal of term limits for lawmakers and the establishment of a federal system of government, which critics say will weaken central authority and potentially lead to regional dynasties. Protesters are calling for the protection of democratic institutions and the prevention of a return to authoritarian rule. Sheung Adetola has details.
A distant memory for many of these protesters, but they say the spirit of the People Power Revolution in 1986 lives in them. 38 years on, they are fighting an attempt to change the constitution by the son of the president that earlier generation toppled.
We remember the lessons from history. Marcos dictated